This story is titled, My Wife Tattooed Independent Girl on Her Neck, so I made her independent from my house and joint accounts. Hey everyone! Before we jump into today's video, I need your help. We've noticed the channel is losing some traction, and subscribing is one of the best ways you can support us. It's quick, free, and it helps us keep bringing you awesome content. Your support means the world. Let's keep this channel growing together. Thanks so much. Now let's start the video. I still remember the exact moment when my 12-year marriage started falling apart. It was a Tuesday in March when I heard our front door slam at 1:48 a.m. I know because I checked my phone after being jarred awake from a dead sleep. Some background about me. I'm 41 male, been working as a civil engineer at the same firm for 15 years. Started as an entry-level guy right out of college and worked my way up to project manager. Not crazy rich or anything, but comfortable enough that Jenny, 38 female, never had to worry about bills. We met in college, got married a year after graduation, and moved to Colorado where we bought our 4-bedroom house in a nice suburb of Denver. No kids, not for lack of trying in the early years, but eventually we just accepted it wasn't in the cards for us. We had what I thought was a pretty good life. Weekend hikes in the mountains, a couple nice vacations each year, dinner with friends every month or so. Nothing extravagant, but stable and happy. At least that's what I thought until everything changed. Anyway, back to that night. Jenny stumbles in making way too much noise for someone trying to be quiet. The irregular clicking of her heels, the exaggerated effort to place her keys on the counter, the bumping into the hallway table. I laid there pretending to be asleep, but inside I was fully alert. When she finally got into bed, the smell hit me like a brick wall. Expensive perfume mixed with cologne that definitely wasn't mine. Something woodsy and expensive. This wasn't the first time this month either. Fourth night, she's come home past midnight with vague excuses about networking events. Or girls' night with Sarah and Melissa, her co-workers at the marketing agency where she works. I rolled away from her, my back a wall between us, deciding to deal with this in the morning. But man, I barely slept a wink. Just laid there staring at our ceiling fan, wondering when exactly my wife had started becoming a stranger. In the morning light, things didn't look any better. As I made coffee, I ran through scenarios in my head. Was she cheating? Having some kind of midlife crisis? Should I confront her directly or wait for more evidence? I'm an engineer. I like data, evidence, and logical conclusions. But marriages aren't engineering problems with clean solutions. They're messy, emotional things that don't follow mathematical principles. Still, I needed to understand what was happening before reacting. As I heard her get up and head for the shower, I checked her purse sitting on the counter. I'd never done that before. We always respected each other's privacy. But something told me this was different. Inside, I found receipts from a restaurant downtown I'd never been to. $237 for dinner for two. The date was yesterday. My stomach dropped. We had a joint credit card, but I hadn't seen this charge yet. Was she using a card I didn't know about? As I put the receipt back, I noticed something else. A business card for a tattoo shop called Inked Soul, with an appointment written on the back for yesterday afternoon. A tattoo? Jenny had always said she'd never get one because she was afraid of needles. What the hell was going on? That's when she walked in wearing this low-cut tank top I'd never seen before. And that's when I see it. A freaking tattoo on her collarbone. Bold cursive letters. Independent girl. Still red and slightly swollen. Obviously fresh. What the hell is that? I blurted out before I could stop myself. She touched it like it was some precious diamond, actually smirking. You like it? Got it yesterday at Inked Soul downtown. That's permanent, I said, stating the obvious. Her face changed immediately. I don't need your permission, Dan. This is about who I am now. An independent girl. I put my coffee down, trying not to lose it. And who exactly were you before? Someone who lived by your boring rules, your predictable schedule, your middle-class expectations, she shot back, pouring herself coffee. I'm about to turn 40. I need to rediscover myself before I'm too old and it's too late. Everything spiraled from there. According to her, our life, the one we'd built together with the house in the suburbs and solid 401k plan, was suddenly a beige prison of mediocrity. My dedication to our future was now evidence that I was basic and controlling. Yeah, controlling. That's me. The guy who's been quietly watching our joint account getting drained day by day while she finds herself. If you felt this way, why didn't you talk to me about it? I asked, genuinely confused. We could have planned some changes together, tried new things. She laughed. Actually laughed at me. That's exactly what I'm talking about. Planning changes. Everything has to be scheduled and organized with you. Sometimes life isn't about planning, Dan. It's about feeling and experiencing. And what exactly are you experiencing lately? I asked, my voice getting dangerously quiet. She grabbed her purse. I'm going to be late for work. We can talk about this later. But we didn't talk about it later. She came home after I was asleep and left before I woke up the next morning. It became a pattern. Avoidance during the week, then tense silence on weekends broken only by her going out with friends I'd never met. My buddy Mike came over that Saturday to watch the game. He noticed something was off right away. You look like shit, man. What's going on? I hesitated, then told him everything. The late nights, the tattoo, the personality change. Mike nodded knowingly. His wife Rachel went through something similar last year, though without the affair part. He called it the approaching 40 freakout. I just never thought Jenny would be that type. Listen, Mike said. My cousin went through this with his wife. Started with a tattoo, then new friends, then he found out she was sleeping with her CrossFit instructor. You need to protect yourself, just in case. You think she's cheating? I asked, the words sticking in my throat. Mike just looked at me sympathetically. I think you need to find out what's going on before she empties your bank accounts. It started with a notification on my phone. $2,780 withdrawn from our joint account. When I asked about it, she just shrugged and said something about needing a wardrobe refresh for her new chapter. Don't you think we should discuss purchases that big? I asked. She rolled her eyes. I didn't realize I needed permission to buy clothes. It's not about permission, Jenny. It's about respect and partnership. What if I just went out and spent $3 grand without talking to you first? You'd never do that because you're too afraid to live, she snapped. The comment stung because it was so unfair. I wasn't afraid to live. I was responsible. There's a difference. I worked hard so we could have security and options. How had that become a character flaw? Then she disappeared for an entire weekend, coming back with shopping bags from Nordstrom and Saks that I knew damn well we couldn't justify. Another $1,950 gone. In 2 weeks after the tattoo appeared, I noticed her credit card was almost maxed out. $8,400 of our $10,000 limit. Fancy restaurants, bar tabs, luxury clothing brands, all without a single conversation with me. When I tried to talk about it, she literally rolled her eyes and sighed dramatically, like I was some annoying parent. Money comes and goes, Dan. We've been too obsessed with saving for a future that might never happen. I'm living in the present. Then she had the audacity to add, maybe you should try it sometime instead of being so boring. That night she dropped another bomb. She was going on a leadership retreat with her company. Something about her not meeting my eyes made me suspicious as hell. Where is this retreat? I asked. Aspen. The company rented a lodge for the weekend. Which weekend? Next weekend. Thursday through Sunday. Seems like a lot of retreats and conferences lately, I commented. She glared at me. Are you keeping track of my work commitments now? God, this is exactly why I need space. While she was in the shower that night, I did something I'd never done before. I checked her phone. I know, invasion of privacy and all that. Judge if you want, but something in my gut told me I needed to know the truth. The texts confirmed everything my gut had been telling me. These nights out weren't with coworkers or girlfriends. They were with someone saved in her contacts as Ryan Fire, clearly her boss based on the messages. The leadership retreat was actually a getaway with him at some luxury resort in Aspen. The reservation showed a suite for two, $680 per night for 3 nights, charged to our joint credit card. I put her phone back exactly where it was before the shower turned off. My heart was pounding, but my mind had never been clearer. If she wanted to be an independent girl so badly, maybe it was time to give her exactly what she wanted. Complete independence from our marriage, home, and finances. I didn't confront her that night. I needed time to think, to plan. This wasn't just about an affair anymore. This was financial infidelity too. She was spending our money to cheat on me, and doing it in the most disrespectful way possible. That weekend, I did something I've never done before. I went through all our financial statements for the past 6 months. What I found made me physically sick. Jenny had opened 3 credit cards in her name that I didn't know about. She'd taken cash advances, maxed them all out, and made minimum payments from our joint account. She'd been shopping constantly. Clothes, jewelry, expensive restaurants, and hotel rooms. So many hotel rooms. I estimated she'd spent over $30,000 in 6 months on her affair and her new identity. Money we'd worked hard for. Money that was supposed to be for our future. Over the next few weeks, I became a silent observer to my own marriage collapsing. The woman who used to make Sunday pancakes and read the newspaper with me barely acknowledged my existence anymore. She transformed everything about herself. Practical clothes were replaced with tight dresses with designer labels. Modest tops gave way to plunging necklines, all designed to show off that damn tattoo. Our closet filled with shopping bags, price tags still attached. One blouse was $430. Poker, while notifications of withdrawals from our account kept coming, the more I watched, the more patterns I saw. Her phone stayed permanently face down. Passwords changed weekly. Conversations stopped when I walked into a room. Even her friends seemed different. Names I'd never heard before suddenly became central characters in her life. Our neighbor Steve noticed it too. He stopped me one day when I was getting the mail. Dan, I don't want to overstep, but I've seen Jenny coming home with some guy in a white Range Rover a couple times when you're at work. Thought you should know. My stomach tightened, but I appreciated his honesty. Thanks, Steve. I've had my suspicions. Listen, man, I went through something similar with my ex. If you need anything, someone to talk to, a place to crash, whatever, I'm right next door. His kindness nearly broke me. It had been a lonely few weeks. That night at dinner, a rare occasion where we were both home, I decided to test the waters. Who's this Ryan you keep texting? I asked as she frantically typed on her phone. Her fingers froze mid-message. Just someone from work. Marketing brought him in as creative director. Interesting. You've never mentioned a new director before. She shrugged. We're expanding. Lots of new faces. Must be nice driving a Range Rover as a creative director, I said casually, watching her reaction. Her eyes widened slightly, but she recovered quickly. I wouldn't know what he drives. We don't exactly discuss cars. The lie hung between us like a physical thing. I just nodded and went back to eating, letting her think she'd gotten away with it. That night, after she went to bed, I logged into our cell phone account. The call logs told their own story. 67 calls to the same number during lunch breaks or her commute home. The text count to this number was in the thousands. Her credit card statements painted an even clearer picture. Charges at boutique hotels across Denver on weekday afternoons. Restaurants I'd never been to with her. Even a weekend spa package during her professional development seminar last month. I also noticed something else disturbing. She'd taken out a personal loan for $15,000 using our house as collateral, without telling me. The paperwork was hidden in her desk drawer. This wasn't just an affair. This was systematic deception, and it was time to protect myself. I called Mike the next day. Remember how you mentioned your cousin's situation? I think I need the name of his lawyer. Next morning, I decided enough was enough. We need to talk about what's happening, I said over breakfast. She barely looked up from her phone, freshly manicured nails tapping away. What about it? Arda, you're having an affair with Ryan? She didn't deny it, didn't even flinch. Instead, she looked annoyed that I'd interrupted her texting. God, Dan, you're so dramatic. This is exactly why I needed changes. You're suffocating me with your boring life and control issues. Control issues? I've given you complete freedom with our finances, our schedule, and this is how you repay that trust? By taking out loans against our house? Dot. Her head snapped up. You went through my things? That's private. Dot. Apparently everything is private now except our bank account, which you seem to think is your personal ATM. She touched that stupid tattoo again. You've never understood what independence really means. I'm an independent girl now. That doesn't fit into your neat little spreadsheets and retirement plans. Independence doesn't mean stealing from your husband, I said quietly. She stood up, grabbing her $1,200 Gucci purse I'd never seen before. I don't have time for this conversation. I'm meeting friends for brunch. On a Wednesday? Don't you have work? Dot. I took a mental health day. Not that I need to explain myself to you. She headed for the door, then paused. Don't wait up. We're going to this new club downtown after. I sat at the kitchen table long after she left, staring at nothing. Was this really happening? How had we gone from a seemingly happy marriage to this in just a few months? That evening, I got a text from Steve. White Range Rover at the Ritz-Carlton downtown. Thought you should know. No other details needed. I knew exactly what was happening, and I sat in my car for an hour debating whether to go. Eventually, I drove to the hotel. Sure enough, in the valet area, I saw the Range Rover. Through the lobby windows, I could see Jenny and a tall guy with a designer watch and slicked back hair sitting at the bar, his hand on her thigh. Instead of causing a scene, I took photos, documenting everything. Then I drove to a nearby coffee shop and Googled the best divorce attorneys in the area. When she came home that night around 1 a.m., no amount of expensive perfume could mask what she'd been doing. I pretended to be asleep, mind-running calculations not of our retirement fund, but of how to destroy her without destroying myself in the process. You awake? She whispered, slipping into bed. I stayed silent, breathing steadily, already planning my revenge. Her independent girl tattoo was about to become the most expensive ink she'd ever purchased. And the next day, I called Catherine Mills. supposedly the most ruthless divorce attorney in Denver. Her consultation fee was $500 for an hour. Best money I ever spent. Based on what you've told me, Catherine said after I explained everything, you have grounds for divorce based on adultery and financial misconduct. But if you want the best outcome, we need to be strategic. Don't confront her again. Don't let her know you're planning anything. Keep gathering evidence, but be careful not to alert her. I want to protect what's mine, I said. She's already taken enough. Catherine's smile was cold. Then let's make sure she doesn't take anything else. That weekend, she dropped another bomb during breakfast. I'm hosting a dinner party here tomorrow night. I looked up from my newspaper. A dinner party? Since when do you cook or host anything on Sunday nights? Yours, Dot. Not me cooking, obviously. I hired a caterer. Just some friends from my new social circle. She stirred her coffee, not meeting my eyes. You should probably find somewhere else to be. You won't enjoy it. The audacity left me speechless for a moment. You're asking me to leave my own house so you can throw a party with people I've never met? Dot. She rolled her eyes dramatically. This is exactly why I need space. Everything's a negotiation with you. It's exhausting being married to someone so ordinary. That word, ordinary, hit me harder than I expected. After 12 years together, that's how she saw me. I calmly folded my newspaper. Fine. Have your party. I'll be upstairs in my office. Her surprise at my easy agreement was visible. She clearly expected a fight, which told me everything I needed to know about her intentions for this gathering. When Sunday evening arrived, I texted Catherine. Plan in motion. She's hosting him and friends at our house tonight. I'm documenting everything. Catherine replied immediately. Perfect. Get photos if possible, but don't confront them yet. A parade of strangers filed through our front door around 7 p.m. Music vibrated through the floorboards as I sat in my office reviewing our financial statements and texting with Catherine about next steps. By midnight, the noise had reached intolerable levels. I went downstairs to find our living room transformed into something resembling a nightclub. Our furniture pushed against walls, expensive champagne bottles littering every surface, a catering team looking uncomfortable as the party had clearly gotten out of hand. In the center of it all stood Jenny, dancing intimately with a tall man I immediately recognized as Ryan, slicked back hair, designer watch, and all. His hands were all over her while she laughed, showing off her tattoo in a backless dress that probably cost more than my monthly car payment. I observed unnoticed from the stairwell, taking video with my phone, until someone knocked over a full glass of red wine on our white sofa, the one we'd saved for 6 months to purchase. That was my breaking point. I cut the music and turned on the lights. Party's over. Everyone out. The room fell silent. Jenny pushed through the crowd, face flushed and angry. What the hell do you think you're doing? Dot, protecting what's left of our home. Everyone needs to leave now. Her friends, if you could call this collection of shallow strangers that, shuffled awkwardly toward the exit. Only Ryan remained standing possessively behind her. You should introduce us, I said, maintaining perfect composure. Since you've been spending so much time together. She crossed her arms. This is ridiculous. You're embarrassing me in front of everyone. I'm embarrassing you? That's rich coming from the woman who's turned our home into a frat party and is grinding on her boss in our living room. Ryan finally spoke. Look, man, this is between you two. I'll head out. Smart decision, I replied, never breaking eye contact with Jenny. As he walked past me, I added quietly so only he could hear, by the way, Susan says hello. His step faltered for just a moment, and I knew my research had paid off. Susan was his wife, and clearly he hadn't expected me to know about her. After he left, Jenny exploded. How dare you? I told you to make yourself scarce. This is my house, too. Dot, a house I pay 85% of the mortgage on, by the way. I gestured to the destruction around us. Look at this place. The sofa alone will cost thousands to replace. It's just a fucking couch, Dan. God, you're so materialistic and pathetic. I laughed without humor. Materialistic? That's an interesting accusation from someone who spent nearly $12,000 on clothes in the past month and took out a loan against our house. Her eyes widened. You're spying on me now? Dot. I'm protecting what I've worked for 15 years to build. There's a difference. Or have you forgotten that we share finances? Dot. She stormed toward the stairs, turning back only to spit. This is why I need to be independent from you. You count every penny, track my every move. It's controlling and creepy. What's creepy is treating your husband like an ATM while fucking your boss. She froze. You don't know what you're talking about. Suite 1120 at the Ritz. 4 times last week. The spa weekend in Vail last month. The Venmo payments he's been sending you. Should I continue? Dot. The color drained from her face. You've been following me? AC. Dot. I didn't have to. The credit card statements and your carelessness tell quite a story. She recovered quickly, shock replaced by entitlement. Fine. Yes. Ryan and I have been seeing each other. He gets me in ways you never could. He's ambitious, exciting. Everything you're not. How considerate of you to compare us. Does his wife know? Dot. Her face registered surprise. How did you? Unlike you, I actually do my research. Called his company. His wife Susan is listed as co-owner. Lovely woman when I spoke to her yesterday. Very interested in the photos I have. You what? Her voice reached a new pitch. Our marriage has been dead for months. You're just too self-absorbed to have an honest conversation about it. I approached slowly, keeping my voice level. I've noticed everything. The lies, the money disappearing, the late nights. And you know what? I've made some plans of my own. Something in my tone must have finally registered. Fear flickered across her face. What does that mean? Dot. I smiled. It means the independent girl is about to learn about true independence. Nothing comes without cost. Not that tattoo, not those hotel rooms with your married boss, and certainly not betraying someone who trusted you with everything. That night, I slept in the guest room, the sound of her frantically making phone calls drifting through the walls. I sent a final text to Catherine before falling asleep. Confrontation happened. She admitted the affair. Plans still on for this weekend. Catherine responded, Perfect, rest up. The real work begins Friday. The next morning, before leaving for work, I checked our joint account. Another $3,200 withdrawal. But this time, instead of anger, I felt something else. Satisfaction. The account notifications had revealed a pattern of withdrawals every Monday morning. Combined with snippets of conversation I'd overheard, I was certain she and Ryan were planning a getaway to Cabo the following weekend. The leadership retreat she'd mentioned weeks ago. Perfect timing for what I had in mind. I called Catherine from the car. It's time. She'll be gone this weekend. We'll have 72 hours. The week leading up to her retreat became my strategic planning phase. While she packed bikinis and summer dresses, I executed the most carefully orchestrated plan of my life. Every night after she fell asleep, I worked methodically in my office, preparing for what became Operation Independence in my mind. First meeting, Catherine's office downtown. I brought financial records, text message screenshots, hotel receipts, and the unauthorized loan documentation. Catherine reviewed everything with clinical precision. Our infidelity is clearly established, she said, organizing documents into folders. The financial misconduct is substantial. What exactly are you hoping to achieve? Justice. I want to keep what I've earned while she was destroying our marriage, and I want her to feel the panic of true independence. Catherine nodded approvingly. Given these circumstances, we can file for divorce citing adultery and financial fraud. You'll want to secure your assets immediately. Is there anything else I should know? I explained about the upcoming trip. She leaves Friday, returns Monday night. Perfect timing. I'll have everything ready Thursday. She leaned forward. But understand, once we start this, there's no turning back. Are you prepared for that? I'd never been more certain of anything. Absolutely. Next stop, the bank. I sat with a financial advisor named Marcus, who helped me create a new individual account at a different institution. Together, we calculated exactly what portion of our savings had been contributed by me, tracked monthly deposits from my salary, and documented Jenny's excessive withdrawals and unauthorized loan. I'll transfer my portion on Friday morning, I explained. Not a penny more or less. The joint account will remain open but frozen from further withdrawals. Marcus seemed concerned. This is unusual. Most people in divorces empty accounts entirely. I'm not most people. I want this done legally and completely by the book. My third meeting was with a real estate agent to secure a furnished condo. I chose a modern building downtown, paid the security deposit from my personal savings, and arranged for movers to transport my essential belongings on Saturday morning. My fourth meeting was with Susan, Ryan's wife. I showed her everything I had, the photos, the texts, the hotel receipts. She was surprisingly calm. I've suspected for months, she said quietly. He's done this before, but this time he's not walking away with half my company. We developed a coordinated plan. Her attorney would file on Monday, same as mine. Throughout this process, Jenny remained oblivious, too absorbed in her affair and upcoming trip to notice the subtle changes. If she wondered why I'd suddenly stopped confronting her about late nights or financial withdrawals, she didn't question it. My apparent surrender must have seemed like victory to her. Thursday night, I finalized my checklist while she packed upstairs. First, divorce papers filed with the court, ready for service upon her return. 2. New condo lease signed and keys obtained. On third, movers scheduled for Saturday. Fourth, locksmith booked for Saturday afternoon. 5. All utilities transferred to her name only, with deposits required. 6. Restraining order prepared based on her erratic behavior, with witness statements from Steve and the neighbors. 7. Half of our joint savings, minus her unauthorized spending, calculated to the penny, ready for transfer. 8. Credit card companies notified about removing me from joint accounts and freezing them. That night, she came to bed late, reeking of expensive perfume. I pretended to sleep as she tossed her phone on the nightstand. Once her breathing steadied into sleep, I carefully checked her messages. The final confirmation of their Cabo plans was there, along with hotel reservations at a beachfront resort, $790 per night for 3 nights, paid for with our joint credit card. Friday morning arrived with a cheerful breakfast tableau. I made her favorite eggs Benedict, poured fresh orange juice, and acted completely normal. She seemed almost disappointed by my pleasant demeanor, perhaps expecting the sullen resentment I'd shown previously. "You seem happy," she remarked suspiciously. I smiled. "Just looking forward to a quiet weekend. Sometimes space is good for both people." She studied me, perhaps wondering if I'd discovered her true plans, then quickly dismissed the thought. "Well, the team and I will probably be in meetings most of the time. Very boring leadership stuff." "Have fun," I said, helping her load her suitcase into her car. "Drive safely to the airport." As she pulled away, I stood in the driveway, waving. The moment her car turned the corner, I pulled out my phone and made the first call. "She's gone. Let's begin." The weekend unfolded with military precision. By noon Friday, I had transferred exactly 50% of our joint savings, minus her documented unauthorized spending of nearly $28,000, into my new account. I left her portion untouched, but froze the account from further withdrawals. I contacted all credit card companies, removing myself as an authorized user on joint cards and closing accounts where I was the primary holder. I sent emails to our utility companies, insurance providers, and subscription services, changing contact information and payment methods for my portion of our shared expenses. I also removed her from my life insurance policy, changing the beneficiary to my sister. Then I called the credit bureaus to place a fraud alert on my social security number. The satisfaction I felt wasn't from hurting her, but from reclaiming control over my life. Each signature, each confirmation email, represented another link in the chain of our marriage being methodically severed. It was Saturday morning. The movers arrived at 8 a.m. sharp. I had already packed my essentials: clothes, personal items, family heirlooms that had been mine before marriage. I took only what was undisputedly mine, carefully documenting everything with photos and video. By afternoon, the locksmith arrived to change the locks. While he worked, I wrote a detailed letter explaining where she could find her new keys, not with family or friends who might take pity, but at Catherine's office, where she would be served divorce papers simultaneously. Sunday, I spent setting up my new place and preparing for the inevitable fallout. I also made some calls to contacts at competing firms where I knew they needed someone with my experience. I'd been at my company 15 years and was ready for a change anyway. Monday morning, Susan and I executed the final phase of our plan. She filed for divorce from Ryan, freezing their joint business assets in the process. She also sent documentation to their company's board of directors about the misuse of company funds. Ryan had been charging some of their hotel stays to the business. Around 7 p.m., my phone began vibrating incessantly. I could picture Jenny arriving home, finding the locks changed, calling her mom in panic, then being directed to Catherine's office where the full weight of reality would hit her. The calls continued for hours, punctuated by increasingly desperate voicemails and texts. "What the fuck, Dan? Call me now." Dot. "You changed the locks? Are you insane?" Dot. "Where is all our money? The accounts are frozen." Dot. "My credit cards aren't working. I can't even buy gas." Dot. "The electric company says I need to pay a $500 deposit to keep service on." Dot. "My car insurance was canceled. I just got pulled over." Dot. "Ryan's wife knows everything. He's backing away. What did you do?" Dot. "HR called me in for a meeting tomorrow morning. Dan, please call me." I read them all but responded to none. Instead, I sent a single text to Catherine: "She's making contact. Proceed as planned." 2 days later, I finally answered her call. Her voice was unrecognizable, hoarse from crying, desperate. "Dan, please, I made a terrible mistake. I'm so sorry. I don't know what I was thinking." "You were thinking you were an independent girl," I replied calmly. "Now you are. Please," she begged. "I've been fired. Ryan's wife is suing him. Our credit cards are maxed out. I can't even pay the mortgage this month." "Sounds like independent adult problems," I said. "Best of luck with those." "I need help," she whispered. "I have nowhere to go." "You have the house for now," I said. "At least until the bank forecloses due to the unauthorized loan you took out." Should take a few months, though. Can we just talk? Please? I'll do anything to fix this. There's nothing to fix, I replied. The papers explain everything. You get exactly what you put into our marriage, which after calculating your spending versus contributions, comes to approximately negative $42,000. But I'm generously waiving that debt. Dan, please, I love you. This was all a mistake. No, Jenny, the mistake was mine, thinking you were a partner when you were just looking for a sponsor. Enjoy your independence. I heard Starbucks is hiring. I hung up and blocked her number. A week later, her sister Mariah called me crying. She's a mess, Dan. She's staying on my couch, can't stop crying. Ryan completely abandoned her. She's broken. Can you at least talk to her? I talked to her for 12 years, I replied. She wasn't interested. Now I'm not interested. But she's really sorry. She made a mistake. No, Mariah. A mistake is forgetting an anniversary. What Jenny did was make thousands of deliberate choices to betray, steal from, and humiliate the person who supported her for over a decade. Those aren't mistakes. They're character. She's lost everything, Dan. Her job, her home, her credit score is destroyed. She had to sell all those clothes and purses for pennies on the dollar. She's working as a waitress now. Sounds like she's experiencing the independence she wanted, I replied. I'm not her safety net anymore. You're heartless, Mariah snapped. No, I corrected her. I just finally learned to value myself. Maybe Jenny will learn that lesson too. 6 months passed. The divorce was finalized much faster than I expected, largely due to Catherine's ruthless efficiency and the mountain of evidence we had collected. Jenny didn't contest anything after her initial attempts to reconcile failed. I suspect she just wanted it over with as quickly as possible. Through mutual friends, I heard snippets about her life. She'd moved in with her parents at 38 years old. She was working 2 jobs, waitressing during the day and bartending at night. The house had been foreclosed on due to the unauthorized loan. Her credit was destroyed. Ryan had completely ghosted her after his wife filed for divorce and forced him out of their business. The independent girl tattoo had become a cruel joke that she reportedly tried to have removed, but couldn't afford the laser treatments. I, on the other hand, was thriving. I'd taken a new position at a competing firm with a 30% salary increase. My downtown condo had amazing views of the mountains. I'd started rock climbing and joined a hiking group where I'd made new friends. For the first time in years, I felt genuinely free. One Saturday morning, about 8 months after everything went down, I was grabbing coffee at a local cafe when I heard someone call my name. I turned around to see Jenny standing there in a waitress uniform, looking nothing like the glamorous woman who had walked out of my life. The designer clothes were gone, replaced by practical black pants and comfortable shoes. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail. The makeup was minimal. She looked ordinary. The only thing that remained from her transformation was that tattoo peeking out from her collar. Dan, she said, her voice small. I didn't expect to see you here. Jenny? I nodded politely. How are you? She gave a weak laugh. Do you really want to know? I considered the question. Did I? Part of me wanted to walk away, but another part was curious about this person I'd spent 12 years with. Sure, I said, gesturing to an empty table. I have a few minutes. We sat down, and for a moment, neither of us spoke. It was surreal sitting across from someone who was once the center of my world, and now felt like a stranger. I'm sorry, she finally said, for everything. I know it doesn't change anything, but I am truly sorry. I nodded. What happened, Jenny? I mean, really happened. Not the midlife crisis explanation. What was going through your head? She stared into her coffee cup. I don't know if I can explain it in a way that makes sense. I was approaching 40 and panicking about where my life had gone. Then Ryan started paying attention to me at work. He made me feel special, desirable. He talked about this exciting life we could have together. I got caught up in a fantasy. And the spending? The loan against our house? She winced. Ryan had expensive tastes. I was trying to keep up, to be the kind of woman he wanted. He kept promising he was going to leave Susan, that we'd start a business together, that I'd never have to worry about money. She laughed bitterly. I was so stupid. Yes, you were, I agreed, not unkindly. But that's not why I left. I left because you were cruel, Jenny. You belittled me, mocked our life together, called me boring and ordinary. You treated me like I was nothing. Tears welled in her eyes. I know. I told myself those things to justify what I was doing. If I made you the villain, I could be the victim who deserved happiness. It was easier than admitting I was destroying something good for a fantasy. We sat in silence for a moment. How are your parents? I asked finally. They're supportive, Disappointed, but supportive. I'm saving up for my own place. Should have enough for a security deposit in another few months. And the tattoo? I couldn't help asking. She touched her collarbone unconsciously. A permanent reminder of the biggest mistake of my life. I'm saving up to have it removed, but it's expensive. Well, I said, standing up, I should get going. I have a climbing session at 10. You're rock climbing now? She seemed genuinely surprised. Turns out I'm not as boring and ordinary as you thought, I replied with a small smile. Take care of yourself, Jenny. As I turned to leave, she called after me. Dan, do you think you could ever forgive me? I paused, considering the question carefully. I already have, I said finally. But forgiveness doesn't mean reconciliation. Some things, once broken, can't be put back together. She nodded, wiping away a tear. I understand. Thank you for talking to me. I walked out into the bright Colorado sunshine, feeling lighter somehow. The anger that had driven me through those dark months had faded, replaced by something more valuable: indifference. The woman in that coffee shop no longer had any power over me or my happiness. My phone buzzed with a text from Lisa, a woman from my hiking group who I'd been seeing for a few weeks. Still on for the trail tomorrow? Weather looks perfect. I smiled and texted back, absolutely. Can't wait. As I drove home, I thought about Jenny's tattoo, independent girl, and the irony of it all. In trying to find her independence through another man and material things, she'd lost everything. Meanwhile, I'd found real independence by valuing myself and building a life on my own terms. Sometimes the universe has a way of delivering exactly what you ask for, just not in the way you expected. Jenny wanted to be independent, and now she was. Truly, completely independent, with no husband, no lover, no fancy clothes or credit cards. And me? I was independent too. Free from a marriage that had turned toxic, free from someone who didn't value me, free to build a life that was authentically mine.